Well, today is December 17th, and I have a lesson. Today's lesson is to study hard, but I'll give you a funny story. Just now, I was trying to record this, and I'm like, why am I not hearing any of the sound? And it turns out that I had put these headphones in my ear, and I'm like, I see the meters moving, but why is it I'm not hearing anything? And I had these other headphones plugged in. So in the vein of learning how to study hard, I will tell you this, that most of us aren't blessed with the natural gifts that require us to never study. Even those who innately know things can still benefit greatly from study. The study of anything really means making the commitment to see it until you truly understand it. That's different than being an expert, but hopefully you'll find your path to many different kinds of expertise. So, it's interesting because when I was growing up, I studied a lot, actually. I was like total nerd in school. I convinced myself very early on that I was like, I'm going to be a doctor someday. And, obviously your grandma and your grandpa sort of instilled this idea in my head growing up. And I started studying like all the time, taking notes, writing things down. I was studious, I guess. I got nervous if I didn't study or prepare for something. Eventually you got to the point where you just sort of like you're learning by memorizing things, right? Like you could see the pages in your head, because you see them all, these things happening out there. And it was really interesting to be sort of studious, I guess. But I think the lesson here is really that you can study a lot. Like you can spend time in front of something, but it doesn't mean that you've learned anything, right? And studying should not and is not really, I think, about just memorizing all the things that are going on inside of it. I think it's really about something much more interesting. It's about finally getting down and understanding what it means to know the thing that you were looking at, right? So, and the reason I sort of made this distinction about expertise, right, is that an expert can know all the things inside of a thing, right? Like you can know all the attributes of X, or you could, all the properties of Y, and you may have loads and loads of book knowledge, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you've applied that knowledge or that you've truly internalized it. And so I think that that's ultimately the thing that's worth thinking about is there are experts who are experts at the knowledge, sort of, I guess, the factual part of something. And then there are people who are experts at the execution and the ownership of those things. And I think ideally when you have the opportunity to be the working expert in an area, that's a great place to be. Now, you can't be an expert necessarily in everything, so you're going to do your best to get there. But it does take study. But I don't necessarily mean. I guess the important and last part here is just that the distinction is that study does not mean sitting in front of a book and learning something, but it also could mean the execution of that thing over time, right? And learning to master it, and ultimately learning to practice it to the extent that you then truly understand it. So. I hope that's helpful for you today, son. Your mom just went to pick you up. Rex is sitting here, and we're about to go to the garden to see the Christmas lights. So hopefully you'll remember this day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. So bye for now. Love you.